Welcome to part 18 of my review of Tasha's Cauldron Everything. In this episode, we are going to be covering the new core changes to character creation. This is going to include changes to the lineage system, your ability scores, proficiencies, and even your subclasses. But before we jump into it, a very small percentage of you guys who watch my videos are actually subscribed. If you're enjoying this review series, consider subscribing. It's free, you can always change your mind, and it helps me out a lot. So here is the character options portion of the book, so let's just jump right into it. When you make your D&D character, you have an array of options in the PHP to create a sort of adventure you want. So this chapter adds to those options, making it possible to realize even more character concepts. If you combine these with Xanathar's Guide to Everything, the possibilities for characters become vast. Nice advertising there. Here are the options found in this chapter, everything we've already talked about and what we will talk about right now. Let's begin with customizing your origin. At first level, you choose various aspects of your character, including ability scores, race, class, and background. Together, these elements help paint a picture of your character's origin and give you the ability to create many different types of characters. Despite that versatility, a typical character race in D&D includes little or no choice, a lack that can make it difficult to realize certain character concepts. The following subsections address that lack by adding choice to your character's race, allowing you to customize your ability scores, languages, and certain proficiencies to fit the origin you have in mind for your character. This is huge. We finally do not have to be pigeonholed into a very specific set of races if we want our character to even be moderately powerful. Any race, any class, any possibility. The possible customizations are endless. Let's talk about them. First off, we have the ability score increases. Whatever D&D race you choose for your character, you get a trait called ability score increase. This increase reflects the archetypical bit of excellence in the adventurers of the D&D's past. For example, if you're a dwarf, your constitution increases by 2 because dwarf heroes in D&D are often exceptionally tough. This increase doesn't apply to every dwarf, just to dwarf adventurers, and it exists to reinforce an archetype. That reinforcement is appropriate if you want to lean into an archetype, but is unhelpful if your character doesn't conform to that archetype. If you'd like your character to follow their own path, you may ignore your ability score increase trait and assign ability score increases tailored to your character. Here's how to do it. Take any ability score increase you gained in your race or sub-race and apply it to an ability score of your choice. If you gain more than one increase, you can't apply those increases to the same ability score, and you can't increase the score over 20. For example, if the ability score increase trait of your race or sub-race increases your constitution by 2 and your wisdom by 1, you could instead increase your intelligence by 2 and charisma by 1. There it is. Actual limitless combinations and potential no matter what race you pick. This is fantastic. Next up, we have languages. Your character's race includes languages that your character is assumed to know, usually common in the language of your ancestors. For example, a halfling adventurer is assumed to know common and halfling. Here's the thing, D&D adventures are extraordinary and your character might have grown up speaking languages different from the ones in your language's trait. To customize the languages you know, you may replace each language in your language's trait with a language from the following list: Abyssal, Celestial, Common, Deep Speech, Draconic, Dwarvish, Elvish, Giant, Gnomish, Goblin, Halfling, Infernal, Orc, Primordial, Sylvan, or Undercommon. Your DM may add or remove languages from that list depending on what languages are appropriate for your campaign. Fair enough. Next up, we have proficiencies. Some races and sub-races grant proficiencies. These proficiencies are usually cultural, and your character might not have any connection with the culture in question or may have pursued different training. You can replace each of those proficiencies with a different one of your choice following the restrictions on the proficiency swaps table. Here you go. Skill swaps with skill. Armor can swap with a simple melee weapon or martial weapon or tool. A simple weapon can be replaced with a simple weapon or tool. Martial can be simple martial or tool. And tool can be tool or simple weapon. For example, high elf adventurers have proficiency with long swords, which are martial weapons. Consulting the proficiency swaps table, we can see that your high elf can swap that proficiency for proficiency with another weapon or tool. Your elf might be a musician who chooses proficiency with a musical instrument, a type of tool, instead of a longswords. Similarly, elves start with proficiency in perception. Your elf might not have the keen senses associated with your kin and could take proficiency in a different skill, such as performance. The equipment chapter of the PHP includes weapons and tools suitable for the swaps, and your DM might allow more options. Next up, we have personality. The description of race might suggest various things about the behavior and personality of that people's archetypical adventurers. You may ignore those suggestions, whether they're about alignment, moods, interests, or any other personality trait. Your character's personality and behavior are entirely yours to determine. This right here is the critical point as to why we get literally all of these changes. There was a very sizable portion of the community, the D&D community on Twitter, that got really mad with the prospect of orcs being generically evil creatures and them being pigeonholed into that alignment. So Wizards promised that they would make these changes, and they have flushed their way into Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. This is why we have this. Make no mistake about it. This is the custom lineage example right here. Instead of choosing one of the game's races for your character at first level, you can use the following traits to represent your character's lineage, giving you full control over how your character's origin shaped them. Creature type, you are humanoid. You determine your appearance, whether you resemble any of your kin. Size, you are small or medium, your choice. Your base walking speed is 30 feet. One ability score of your choice is increased by 2. You gain 1 feat of your choice for which you qualify. Variable trait, you gain one of the following options of your choice: dark vision with 60 feet or proficiency in 1 skill, and you can speak, read, and write common in one other language that you and your DM agree is appropriate for your character. This is the custom lineage system example condensed into a single block here. Rejoice, for now we have limitless customization. Next up, we have changing a skill. Sometimes you pick a proficiency that ends up not being very useful in the campaign, that no longer fits your character's story. In those cases, talk to your DM about replacing that skill proficiency with a different one offered by your class at level 1. A convenient time for such a change is when you reach a level that grants you an ability score increase feature, representing that your character has spent a level or two studying the new skill and letting the old one atrophy. We also have the option to change your subclass. Each character class involves the choice of a subclass at first, second, or third level. A subclass represents an area of your spec and offers a different class features with you as you level up. With your DM's approval, you can change your subclass when you normally would gain a new subclass feature. If you decide to make this change, choose another subclass that belongs to your class and replace all of your old features with new ones. However, to do this, you may have some training time. To change your subclass, your DM might require you to spend some time devoted to the transition as you study the ways of the new specialization. This transition requires a number of days equal to twice your new level in the class. A higher level represents more to learn. The DM might also require an expenditure of money to pay for training, magical reagents, or other goods needed for the transition. This typically costs 100 GP times your new level. This new cost might be accompanied by a quest of some sort. For example, a sorcerer who wants to adopt a draconic bloodline can be required to receive blood, a blessing, or both from an ancient dragon. If you return to a subclass you previously held, you forego the gold cost and the time for the transition is halved. Very flavorful, very fitting if you want to change your build on the fly. And finally, we have sudden change. Sometimes a character undergoes a dramatic transformation in their beliefs and abilities. When a character experiences a profound self-realization or faces an entity or place of overwhelming power, beauty, or terror, the DM might allow an immediate subclass change. Here are a few examples. An Oath of Devotion paladin failed to stop a demonic horde from ravaging her homeland. After spending a night in sorrowful prayer, she rises the next morning with the features of the Oath of Vengeance, ready to hunt down the horde. A wizard lies down for a nap beneath an oak tree whose roots reach into the Feywild. In his dreams, he faces visions of multiple possible futures. When he awakens, his new subclass has been replaced by those of the School of Divination. A cleric of the war domain has spent years in conflict with the enemies of her temple, but one day she wanders into a sun-dappled glade where her god once shed a tear of mercy over the world's suffering. Drinking from the glade's brook, the cleric is filled with such compassion for all the people that she now bears the powers of the life domain, ready to heal rather than make war. So this, everyone, is your new base core character customization options presented in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. There is now an almost infinite possibility of potential character builds, as well as build changes that you can make to your own character. That is all we have for this video. If you guys enjoyed this review, be sure to leave it a like and tell me what you guys think in the comments down below. Are these good changes? Do you welcome a new age of limitless customization possibilities, or is this overstepping and should things have stayed the same? I'm personally a big fan of this. I would love to hear what you guys think in the comments down below. But be sure to subscribe if you haven't. We got more Tasha's Cauldron of Everything reviews still to come. Don't miss a single one of those videos coming very soon, guys. But until next time, have fun, stay safe, and as always, happy gaming.